Hi everyone, I am Shweta. She is Guinea and we are from Guinea's Planet and we are very lucky to have Michael today with us. Hi Michael.
Hi, Shweta.
Thank you for being here. I'm sure you all have watched our conversation with Michael. That's also there on our social media platform. Michael is an all-in-one kind of a person. So he's a chef. He's also a photographer, and we've been lucky to see his wildlife photography as well. Of course, that Michael has been very kind to give his time to Guinea's Planet so that we and our participants and our team and our NGO network, they can get access to his skills and wisdom. At the same time, there's much that goes on in Guinea's life and on Guinea's Planet, right? So Guinea, to be healthy and to grow as she should, should think of healthy food. And therefore, what Michael brings in is perfect for this. So, Michael, today's conversation is about healthy food, but in a way that is also fun for people, especially if they are trying to feed children or even if they're trying to feed themselves. What would you like to say first and just take this on because you are the expert here, and I'm going to just ask questions as and when needed, and other people can also come in.
Sure. So we're going to be talking a little bit about health and food and lifestyle choices that we make. And so during this conversation, I thought I'd put together a couple of videos, food videos. At the same time, talk about everyone's dietary habits and things like that. Because right now we are being bombarded with, we have the keto plan, earlier there was a plan of no eating bread. There was right now is all about veganism. And each dietary plan is confusing everybody. What does it do to our systems? What does it do to our foods? And we forget that we forget nature in the whole run of all of this. As to what nature has given us, we've forgotten about why do we eat and why do we not eat. Some of our grandparents had it right. The old Ayurvedic system had it right to some point of time. And then I think industrialization and commercialization just blew everything out of proportion. And we've forgotten to eat right. We've forgotten to eat seasonally. You have diets which say don't eat oil, don't eat fats, don't eat this. But our body needs those fats. Our body needs those oils. Like, for example, in Rajasthan, why do they eat oily food? It's because the weather is so hot that it just dries your body up. And that excess oil from the food is required for the body. So if I'm making Rajasthani food, say in Bombay, for example, I cannot be feeding them that heavy oily food. You have to, okay? Obviously, it'll affect the flavor. The flavor will be affected. But so again, we have to make those choices about what do I go out and eat at a restaurant? What do I eat at home? At home, we're eating what's available that is grown locally. What is grown locally is perfect for our bodies. Yet people want to eat, say, maybe Chinese cuisine, or you want to eat South American cuisine. But do those ingredients like quinoa and all, are they adaptable to our bodies? We don't look at that. We need to look at that. We need to look at.
Right. So Michael, while you're saying all this, I think some of the things that you said are very relatable. Like I do hear a lot about different kinds of diets that go on, and I do know that my friend here has tried a few diets. Sapna, do you want to share some examples of the things that you've tried? To like different healthy diets and stuff. And if you have any question for Michael, that he should definitely cover in today's conversation, because you're going to go ahead then with that.
I mean, it's like, yeah, I have tried different diets and I realized that, like they advise quinoa or they advise oats. Sometimes I feel that maybe first of all, I don't find them as tasty as something which is more native. And secondly, I actually wonder if they are actually easily digestible for our systems as compared to other maybe local options that we have. So yeah, it will be nice if
Yeah,
that can be covered. Yeah.
so what is available locally is absolutely digestible to our systems. If you take something foreign and put it into your body, maybe once, okay, you'll like it. But in the long run, is it beneficial for our bodies? I don't think so. Because our bodies have been used to what is local right from the day we are growing up. Okay, the local millets, the local grains, these are all for our bodies. Our bodies are able to adjust to it. If you look at a lot of the fruits that are available in India, from pineapple to chiku, custard apple, they've all come from South America to India. But they've evolved over 400, 500 years. So our body has been able to adapt to it. But if I take something like quinoa, which is something absolutely new, it's going to be a third generation or fourth generation that will be able to absorb it. We ourselves may not be able to absorb it. Okay. Firstly, the kind of quinoa that is being grown in India, the size and the quality is different from what you're getting from South America. Okay, it's being grown in Rajasthan, for example. It's taking all the nutrients from the soil of Rajasthan and it's being grown. The size is different, the quality is different. So no study has been done to see if it is acceptable by our human body, by our bodies. So we have to be susceptible to whatever dietary things that are being thrown at us. Uh, I fully advocate the vegan diet because veganism is something that is for the future. Okay, we are moving away from meats, but at the same time, you need your protein. Okay, uh, I'm very much involved with wildlife and nature, so I kind of tend to have cut down my meats. But at the same time, you know that you need that protein in your system to fight the current, all the viruses and all that are happening. You need more protein in your system. You need more vitamin D, vitamin C in your system. But at the same time, do I need milk in my system? You don't really need milk in your diet. Because no animal drinks another animal's milk. No animal drinks milk after a certain age. Yet humans are the only ones doing that. And we all know the concept of milk in our system. You know, so as chefs, we are not advocating it. As chefs, we need to advocate that we have to create dishes that are good for people, not just go with what people want. Several times you're going with what the public wants. As a chef, I did a restaurant in Delhi where we all know how Delhiites love paneer, right? But I didn't have paneer on my menu. I absolutely refused to have it on my menu because I said I am going to give people what I do best. You are coming to my restaurant to eat my food. I'm not cooking what you want. You know. So several times guests would say, "Why is there no paneer?" And I would say, "I've got this kind of cheese. Why don't you try it? It's a good substitute. I've got this kind of vegetable. Why don't you try it?" You know, we can get so much from. We have more vegetables in our uh, menus in India than you get abroad. Abroad, you're just stuck with your capsicum, your onions, your carrots, potatoes, and peas. They haven't grown beyond that, and zucchini probably. But in India, you have seasonable vegetables. You have so many different kinds of pumpkins and gourds and stuff like that. You can have a new dish every day on your menu if you like. You know, during the monsoons, you get seasonable vegetables. If you go to the Northeast, there are vegetables which most of us have not even heard of. You know, so when you're looking at healthy food, you have to also look at the cooking technique behind it. And in India, sadly, we cook our vegetables to death. We will cook it with a lot of oil, we'll cook it with a lot of masalas, we will overcook it. Uh, like if you look at Chinese cuisine, it's all about stir frying, it's all about quick flash cooking, it's all about cooking it in a stock or a stew. It's all quick cooking. So it retains all the flavors of the vegetables, plus it gives health to the consumer.
So, Michael, can I ask a question here? Like,
Sure.
you said that we should eat local, what is seasonally available and what is local, and at the same time, there are parts in the country where actually things are fried and done to death before we eat them. So that's
Correct.
also part of our local culture. So how do you decide, in local form, what do you eat and what do you not eat?
So you have to re-educate people. We have to take people back to cooking techniques. We have to teach them that if you deep fry, what are the consequences? Whenever I'm traveling in India, it's like you're either being fed poha, samosas, kachoris. I'm talking about street food and highway food. You're not given a choice of something healthy on the highways or in a dhaba or something like that. And that is because order that has been created. Okay. Now, to break that culture, it means coming down to grassroots level and changing the system. Okay. And it can be done. How it can be done when you're seeing things like KFC, McDonald's, all of these places opening on the highway. And instead of them just doing the regular burger, they should be actually investing in how do I serve a good salad? How do I serve a good, maybe a stir fry, along maybe with the burger? Because burgers we all know are not healthy. They're not in the healthy range, but they're still in a position to change the system. You have a very dhaba kind of food along the highways. Those cooks are from the villages. They are going to cook exactly the way the villages cook: oily, overcooked, palak paneer, uh, that kind of food. Uh, but what happens is, like when we have you heard of the Bharat Petroleum ka dhabas, which are all along the highways? Have you seen them? The Bharat Petroleum dhabas. They're connected to the petrol pumps.
So we've seen
And
those, but they don't
when
look
we,
like dhabas, do they?
yeah, but when you go inside they're called Bharat Petroleum dhabas.
Okay.
And when we created the concept about 20 years ago, I was part of the team, and we taught the cooks. Even the menus were very healthy then. But down the line, again, it went back to what people wanted. We had created healthy menus. We trained the staff. Truckers would be given a complete healthy meal if they filled a tank full of petrol at the station. Plus, they got a night's rest bed. Bunkers were there. Very clean toilets were there. And that's the whole ecosystem around healthy food. Healthy food, so they have a reason to stop there because they know they're going to get healthy food, a bed to sleep in, plus a clean toilet. So Bharat Petroleum had created this whole ecosystem around the food. And because they knew that, they filled up a whole tank of petrol at the petrol station. But these are concepts around healthy food. It's like you're using a concept to take healthy food to the masses. Okay, whether it works or doesn't work is another question altogether. But the question is, the initiative had been started by such a big brand, you know? So
Right. So obviously, when it comes to brands, the big brands which serve burgers and pizzas, and I eat them myself because I like them, like many
yes,
other people. Yeah. So while I'm feeling guilty about all that when I'm having this conversation, apart from the changes that do need to happen in the menus of the bigger corporations, who do have access to so many places and so many people, to help them make those choices if that's possible, what would you suggest in terms of day-to-day things that we do, like at home, the choices that we make here, apart from the local vegetables?
it's again about changing your cooking techniques. It's again about how you cook, changing the way you cook. Um, a lot of us like to cook with ghee, with butter, with a lot of sugar in our food, and that has to change. And how do you change it? It's just by simply changing your cooking technique. Instead of deep frying, do stir frying. Instead of deep frying, try shallow frying. Uh, Stop using so much of flour and wheat. We are surrounded, most of our products are all wheat based and rice based. Now we cut out these two. You're already on track for a healthier diet. If you cut out milk, cut out your milk and your sugar. If you look and see, milk and sugar are owned by the big conglomerates. They're owned by the government. They're owned by ministers. Why? Because it's a money-making ingredient. You are being force-fed to eat these three elements.
But the messages that everybody gets, Michael, they are also very aligned to this, isn't it? That instead of saying don't eat milk and don't eat XYZ, the messages are actually opposite that we get, like why milk is good for you. I mean, they do good
Correct.
marketing, I think. So what do we do?
Yeah, because it's money.
That,
At the end of the day, it's all about, end of the day, it's all about making money. They're not bothered about your health at the long run. So you have to take your health into your own hands. Okay? Chefs have to stop putting it on the menu. You stop putting it. If you look at the number of diabetes cases in this country is very high. And America went through that phase of obesity, I think India is all on that same path anyway, where we are not on a healthy way of living. Earlier, we all had yoga. Yoga was a way of life for us, But with the fast world, fast pace that we are going through, we've forgotten that. So our healthy habits should be also linked to the food we eat and how we eat it, how we cook it, how we present it, If these changes can be made by chefs and by corporates, we are on a good wicket. And we've got to take it into our own hands. When we go to a restaurant, we ask the chefs, what oil are you using? How is the dish being cooked? We all love fried food, I agreed. But if the chef is using palm oil, which is bad for your heart and your body, and nature at the same time, then what happens? So when you question the chef or the restaurant, they'll automatically start thinking and stop using these ingredients.
Right, that's an interesting suggestion,
So,
Michael.
as a
that we as customers we ask questions. So one question is about what oil do they use, but when you give what questions, also give us answers so that we know that okay, that's the answer, and this does not match with this list that Michael has given us.
Correct. So if I'm asking about the oil, I should know that he's using a healthier oil in the restaurant. End of the day, you're paying for the food that's being given to you. Now, if I'm having a vegetable dish, is the vegetables coming from a vendor? Does the chef know from which farm the vegetables are coming from? Who is growing the vegetables? No, he's just picking it up at the local market. Is it organic? Is it inorganic? We've lived with organic food for centuries. So why is organic food now more expensive than the pesticide-laden food? The pesticides is not something for centuries. It's just been there for the past maybe a century or two. So why is pesticide-laden food more expensive? I mean, less expensive than organic food. So these are the things we need to be asking when we go out to eat, when we're ordering something from a restaurant. I'm doing a project with a company right now where we're saying no additives in whatever the ingredients we're using. Now we went to a spice company and asked them, what are the additives that you're using in the spice blends? Until you ask the question, nothing is going to happen. We are so used to just buying a store-bought product without reading the label. And the labels tell you all the additives that are being used. So when you're a masala company that is not using the additives, I'll buy that first. I'll use that first. We just say, oh, that's a colorful, attractive packaging on the shelf. Let me just pick it up without reading the label. Now, we all know palm oil is bad for you. It's bad for the environment, bad for our body. But every street vendor and small restaurant is using palm oil today. The amount of people eating street food on a day-to-day basis is phenomenal. Those habits have to change. And if once we break those habits, our health will improve. It's not only our health, you're improving the health of a nation in that aspect as well. Every street corner has a vada pav vendor or a samosa vendor, whatever. But there's no vegetables to break down that quantity of oil that you're eating. In China, after eating oily food, they drink hot water or they have a soup. Soup is had at the end of the meal to wash down the oily food. In Andhra, they give you that hot water to drink because their food is hot and oily. They give you a glass of hot water which is flavored with some spices to drink to wash down the oil. The rest of our states don't do it. So when I say I'm eating healthy, I have to know that if I'm eating something oily, or if I'm having meat, for example, for one portion of meat, I have to have 3 portions of vegetables. But if you go to a restaurant, they'll serve you 3 portions of meat and 1 portion of vegetable. So again, it comes down to the chef. It comes down to the chef being knowledgeable to say, here's your meat portion, here's your vegetables. I have given it to you. If you don't eat it, that is your choice. But I have done my duty by giving you something healthy. I am giving you something hot to drink because it washes down the oils. Okay.
Right. And also at the same time, these are many things that all of us may not know. Like, for example, you know them because obviously you are the expert on this. But for me to know what should be there, like how much portion of what should be there is not, I've never thought of it like this. Like, I would eat more of what I think I need to eat, and that's it. What would you suggest in terms of portions in everyday diet? One is about meat with 1 portion with 3 portions of vegetables.
Right. Now you have to look at the kind of oil that you're using. The kind of oil that you're using is very important. Whether you're using like something like canola oil or olive oil or sunflower oil, you have to look at these oils that you're using. Okay. So you have to look at the monosaturated fats, all the unsaturated fats, butter, ghee, all of these elements. Cooking technique is also a very important role in your diet. Very few people talk about cooking techniques in your diet. So if you're baking, if I am stir frying, these are all healthy ways of cooking. And you need these healthy ways of cooking to improve your diet. Raw food diet. Raw food diet is an excellent way of being healthy. If you look at a raw food diet, it doesn't necessarily mean you're eating pure raw food. Food is cooked up to about 40 degrees temperature. Okay, is used to cook that food, but it's still a healthier way of eating. Most vegetables at about 30 to 50 degrees, they lose all their vitamins and all once the temperature crosses 50 degrees. So if I'm cooking, like say tomatoes and courgettes and all, I'm cooking it at 100 degrees or 90 degrees. At the end of the day, you're just eating, I don't know what you're eating. Because you've killed all the vitamins, you've killed all the nutrients of it. So you're just eating for the sake of eating. You're not eating healthy. So again, you have to look at the cooking method for that particular ingredient. Again, sugars. We eat a lot of sugar. But are we using healthy sugars in our food? You have to look at that.
Right. So, Michael, are you going to show us? Because I know that you're on a desk, so obviously you're not going to cook directly. Are you going to show us videos of some of these things that you just said?
Yes, I'm going to show you a couple of videos. So,
Okay.
food. Keeping this in mind, I'm going to make a simple lemon chicken with a water marinade and using the healthier option of grilling the chicken. I am going to now first put a little bit of tea into the infuser. Place the infuser into the bowl. I'm going to now pour hot water over the tea. It's always good to pour water over your tea leaves. A few sprigs of ginger. A pinch of thyme salt. And then give it a good stir. And now take out the infuser. It's done its job pretty well. This is my water marinade. Let's add the chicken to the water marinade. Let's add the second breast to the water marinade. Press it down lightly so that the chicken is immersed in the marinade. And we're going to leave this in the refrigerator for an hour. The grill is now heated to about 180 degrees centigrade. I am now going to add some grapeseed oil. Place the chicken inside down first. Leave this to grill for about 3 minutes. So whilst that is grilling, I'm also going to grill on the side some cherry tomatoes, some peppers, and some sliced lemons. It's about 3 minutes and one side of my chicken is almost done. We need to cook the other side for another 3 minutes. So I'm just going to turn it over and turn over your chicken. Turn over the second piece. And let that cook for another 3 minutes. If you want, sprinkle a little bit of marinade over. Let's give the vegetables a good stir on the pan so that they grill evenly. The lemony flavors, the chili peppers, the tomatoes, thyme salt over the chicken to give it a little bit of flavor and crunch. It's always important to rest meat for a few minutes before serving it. So whilst the meat is resting, I'm going to now plate. I'm now going to plate all my vegetables and lemons. It is important to ensure that you've not overcooked your vegetables. My chicken is nice and tender. Grated lemon. Tea, lemon and chicken come together to make a simple, flavorsome dish.
Right. Thank you for showing that, Michael. So do you generally suggest that we grill stuff instead of do like frying things?
Yes.
Okay.
I suggest grilling stuff. Grilling is it keeps the flavors intact. It keeps the amount of oil that you would normally use, it cuts down that. And it's a technique that retains all the vitamins and all that, especially in the vegetables. Okay, so, and you're just cooking it for the right amount of time.
Okay, right. Sapna has a question.
Yeah, how about like sometimes we are not using the grill, but we use a non-stick tawa, and we are like, is it the same
Perfect.
thing?
It's the same thing.
Okay.
It's the same thing.
Thank you.
We use the grill mainly to get those lines on the chicken or the vegetables.
Okay.
That's the main reason.
Okay.
You can use a tawa, all of that.
Okay. And when you say stir,
sorry, Sapna, go ahead. Yeah.
When you say stir fry, like suppose if I, boil my broccoli in like water for 5 minutes and then strain it, and No?
No,
You
just wash it.
generally they say that you need to boil the broccoli for 5 minutes. It gets more greener and little, the crunchiness remains. But okay, should I go directly for stir fry then?
Yeah, just soak it in salt water to take out any impurities and all that. Just soak it in a lot of salt water, drain out the salt water, and then just cook it in the stir fry. What's
Okay.
difference?
Okay. How about the tofu? The tofu that we get from the
So
market?
now when you're doing a stir fry, that's fine. Okay. But again, when you're doing a stir fry, there's a way of doing a stir fry. It's your root vegetables first. The hardest vegetable goes in first, and your leafy vegetables go in last. So that's how
Yeah.
you cook a stir fry. Okay. So normally people just tell you throw everything in, but no. The minute you throw in the leafy vegetables, you're going to get a lot of water coming out. So the vegetables go in last. The leafy veggies go in last. So that's again technique based. So once you know your cooking techniques, you can do anything. You know.
So
So if
one
I'm
more
using
question.
root vegetables, sorry.
Yeah, so like routinely, like हम लोग अगर ऑफिस भी लंच ले जाते हैं, हम भिंडी की सब्जी, अरबी की सब्जी या इतनी सब सब्जियां जो हमारे इंडियन स्टाइल में कुक होती हैं, तो क्या उन सबके न्यूट्रिएंट्स खत्म हो जाते हैं जब तक हम उन्हें ले जाते हैं? क्योंकि सारा तो हम स्टर फ्राई खा भी नहीं सकते.
No, but don't cook it to death. Like you always cook it till it is absolutely pachak. Don't you? You overcook your bhindi. Don't overcook it, is what I'm saying. So the thinner you cut it, the faster it will cook. If you keep it whole, it'll take a little longer to cook. But don't, again, what we are saying is don't overcook your vegetables. So with practice, you'll come to know how long I must cook it for. Yeah. So I'm going to show you one more video. One second. Just 1 minute. Is it on? Okay, share screen.
Almost upon us, and one sure way of knowing that it's so close is the appearance of ice apples or tadgolas in the market. Ice apples are a summer fruit that come from the toddy palm tree. They're so popular simply because of the high water content, and today I'm going to be using these in a fruit carpaccio. I'm surprised why no one uses ice apples in their food. They make for a really nice ingredient, especially in salads. And for my carpaccio, I'm also using some marshmallow. For a carpaccio, you can use muskmelons, you can use watermelons, and if you have a set of really good knives, guavas work well too. I've cut the melon into wedges, which I'm now going to thinly slice. The word carpaccio itself means thinly sliced or paper thin slices. It's a very simple recipe that is high on freshness and flavor. For the pomegranate, I like to use this technique where I just make a slit on the skin all around the pomegranate and then simply pull it apart. This way, I get all the seeds whole. I'm not damaging any of the seeds and I'm not wasting any of the juice either. I've layered the fruits and I'm going to put this in the fridge for a while to allow the flavors to marry while I make a dressing. For my dressing, I'm just going to use a bit of lime juice, a pinch of chili flakes because I like my dressing spicy, and very little maple syrup to just balance the tart and spicy flavors. I'm just gonna mix it a little bit with a fork so it's sour, spicy and sweet. The dressing is ready. I'm just going to go and get the fruits which are chilling in the fridge. I'm drizzling the dressing lightly over the fruits. A few seeds of pomegranate, fresh pomegranate, and a little bit of cilantro. Break them into small pieces and sprinkle them very lightly over the carpaccio. And that's it. We're ready.
Right, Sapna. I hope you watched that very carefully. Next time I visit you, I want the carpaccio just like that.
Yeah. Only thing is, I don't get targola here. I think they use tar.
You can use any fruit. The question, see, a carpaccio again is a technique. It's a technique-based dish. So you can play around watermelon, fruit,
Okay.
custard apple. You know, it's all about playing with the flavor.
Michael, you're in Delhi or NCR? Is
I'm in Bombay. I was in
ah
Delhi when I was setting up Nueva.
okay.
So I've done Anglo in Khan Market and Nueva, which was in Sangam.
Okay.
And, yeah,
Oh, okay.
but it's very
Thank
tough working with Delhi people. So I prefer Bombay. So coming back to raw cooking, which I spoke about earlier, raw cooking again is a very healthy based cooking technique. And if you look at a lot of our foods, you know, a lot of our spicy chaat, fruit chaat, things like that, they're all raw based cooking. You know, we use lemon, like last time I showed lemon juice. The lemon juice, the acidity of the lemon juice is what actually cooks the ingredient. And that's another healthy way of eating actually. The lemon juice, garlic, ginger, they're all good for the heart. They're all good for breaking down the oils and fats in our body. That's why the Chinese eat a lot of garlic, because it breaks down the fats in your body. We use a lot of garlic in our food too. But again, we tend to cook it to death, if you know what I mean. We'll make it absolutely brown and bunao it and bunao it and bunao it, which is not the way it should be done actually. So again, we have to look at all these dishes, recreate these dishes to make it more healthier. It's something what I think a lot of chefs have to do. Any other questions?
No, I was thinking you're going to show us another video, but we can think of more
Sure.
questions because I had one.
Okay, I'll show you one more.
Yeah, no, but I had one question. So, for example, these days when it comes to cooking, people are also talking about the utensils in which we cook, you know. So, should we
Right.
use non-stick? Should we use iron? Should we use aluminum or not? These debates are going on.
I think one should stay away from aluminum and non-stick. Yes, to a certain degree, you need to stay away from, because again, those are very chemical-based pots and pans. Cast iron is the best. Cast iron, copper, the old brass with copper lining vessels. Those are the best to be used. Returning to pottery, cooking in pottery, clay. That's again one of the best things to use. Uh, like at home, we've gotten rid of all the aluminum vessels at home. At most of my restaurant projects, I don't even order the aluminum vessels at all, you know, uh, because aluminum reacts also with a lot of food. Aluminum reacts with egg. Aluminum reacts with a lot of things, and it's not good, you know. So as a chef, we have to give our guests safe food. Now, a lot of our chefs are unskilled labor, so to train them is very hard. And a lot of our students who come out of catering colleges, sadly, they just join as senior chefs or executive chefs, and they don't put what they have been taught into the kitchen. So people are still continuing using the same old methods, which need to change. So, uh, so you wanted to ask some more questions, or you want to see one more video?
No, I don't know. I mean, I don't have any other questions. Sapna, do you have any other questions?
No, that's fine. I think we can see the video this time.
Right. So, all right. Okay.
I said, oh my, is that easy? Figs are in season, and this is the first dish, or one of the first dishes that I learned at the Cordon Bleu. Figs marinated with rum and then flambé. I'm going to do a slight twist to it, and this is Michael from Hopping Chef. Cooking fruits, sometimes you're almost done before you even begin. So first heat the pan, add some sugar to it, evenly space out the sugar so that it caramelizes faster. Some star anise, a piece of cinnamon, a split vanilla. So whilst the sugar is caramelizing, which should take about 5 minutes or so, I'm going to take a piece of rosemary. I've taken out the leaves and sharpened the edge of this, which I'm going to thread through the figs. It's easy to enroll them to the. When cooking with edible flours, it's always important to remember to take out the stamens. The stamens are unhealthy to use. So in that goes. So the sugar started to caramelize and turn a golden brown. I'm going to now add the figs to it. Add some rum. And I'll just cook this. Now, wasn't that easy to do? Hardly I've begun and I'm done. A drizzle of honey to finish it off. And there you have it. Hardly I've begun and it's done.
So again, I'm coming to cooking techniques which are fast, quick, easy. You're using local ingredients. You're giving an international touch and flavor to it. So we're cooking international dishes with Indian ingredients. And that is what a lot of chefs are doing today, because again, you're cutting down on the air miles, you're cutting down on the cost of bringing ingredients from all around the globe to India. You're using local ingredients, you're playing with flavors, you're playing with cooking techniques. And that's how you change your everyday cooking, you know. So kids will love it, your families will love it. It's just bringing a new aspect to the table and keeping it healthy at the same time.
Right. Thank you, Michael. And I'm so happy to see that video, because when I saw figs, and I love figs, I don't get them enough now, because while growing up, every summer holidays we would visit my grandparents in Himachal, and we would just pick up figs and eat for free. And now when I see figs in Delhi, they're like so expensive. I don't buy them. But yeah, that's a very nice dish. And I was very impressed with the presentation part that you did in very quick way. So now I'm looking forward to your Thursday workshop because I'm very bad at presentation. And they're not worthy of photography, when I cook food and put it up on plates. So I think on Thursday I'll pick up those tips. Yeah. So thank you so much, Michael. Yeah. Do you have any last words of wisdom before we close?
No, my last words of wisdom is eat healthy and eat everything. Eat everything. Don't be very diet conscious because your body needs certain ingredients, and everybody's body is different. So you can't just structure a diet around you. So just eat healthy and be happy.
Right. Thank you so much, Michael. And thank you, Sapna, and other people who've joined in, and everybody who's watching this conversation. Thank you all for joining us. Do remember to, okay, Sapna, you want to say something else? Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have put a question actually for Michael, if that can be answered. I am not sure.
Try going to a lot of the restaurants that serve Spanish food or Italian food. You'll probably get a lot of healthy, healthy
Okay.
food.
Yeah. So basically, Michael won't be able to say brands, obviously.
I understand.
He can only hint you the cuisine bit.
Yeah, if I say one chef's name, the other chef will phone me up later and say, you didn't mention my place. So let's just be politically correct. But there are places.
Yeah. So, instead of we...
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
All right. Bye.